Child, there's nothing more that I hate than a woman who is not protective around other women, is a woman who abuses the hell out of turquoise eyeshadow. Y'all, let's get into this new episode 6 of Ready to Love, Fort Worth, Dallas. Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Tammy. We are back for another episode of Ready to Love, Dallas, aka Fort Worth. Y'all, these AI classes have been kicking my butt. But anyway, we'll talk about that in the comments. It is us back for Elimination. Question crew, you know how we're going to do it now. We get straight into it. And for newcomers who are here and new to the channel, thank you for coming and joining us. Have a seat on the couch so we can get right into it. So we got our girl Koshia and our girl Mika who are standing on the front line, honey, waiting to see who is going to get chose to go home. You know, we had Will and his fake jewelry talking with them and letting them know what their issues were and why the guys are choosing to send one of them home. Now, we know background from last episode, you know, Koshia got into it a little bit with LaRon, which was her strongest connection. And he kind of felt like she was, I guess, being too friendly with the other guys. It's called actually being on the show, but for him, it was too much. And he sort of turned against her midway. And, you know, Will just has an axe to grind. And Mika mostly has been turning a lot of the guys off, not by her visual because she's killing that, but just to the fact that she pretty much is not open to having any more kids. And many of the men here either don't have kids or are interested in at least having another child, especially with their wife. So the ladies are in elimination and, you know, they're down to the wire. The fact that they even had Will running this segment and trying to tell them what they thought or didn't think with that fake look on his face, knowing that they was already gunning for Koshia, is beyond me, honey. But let's play the game anyway. And y'all, I could tell that I wasn't the only one that felt like Willie 1.0 should have never been running this show when it came to elimination, because both Mika and Koshia basically said, like, we know you don't care for us. And Mika says, I don't even care what's coming out of Will's right now because I don't even like him. Girl, kudos from the whole audience. And Koshia feels the exact same way. It's mostly like, sir, what are you even doing here with them slides on? So essentially, you know, Will goes back and forth and basically says, like, Koshia, you're not ready to love. She can go home. Mika goes back into the crowd, and Koshia is not surprised. She goes and hugs the people she needs to hug, and then she goes home. And when I tell y'all, the way Chaz looked was how I felt, because I hate when they send people home that are actually entertaining for the show. I don't know if Koshia would have found her person here. I'm not really sure after this episode of LaRon really was for her anyway. But what I did appreciate was that she absolutely checked some of the people that needed to be checked, including Alexis. Thought this episode. So I was sad to see her go so early on because it's going to get more boring as the show progresses, especially because we've pretty much determined that there's only 2 or 3 quality men here and the rest of them really are trash. But LaRon gives this fake sadness about how he hopes he finds love again because Koshia was his strongest connection. And let's be absolutely honest. He's only trying to bank on Maya, hoping that she will be the connection because she's the only other person he's really connected with. And, you know, Chaz is all of us in this situation. I mean, pretty much like this is on BS. And I want to have a quick dive into this really quick. It's not just about Koshia, Ready to Love. If y'all want us to continue to care about these shows for the entire season, keep the most entertaining people on it for at least mid-season or so. Although I guess we're on episode 6, so maybe it is mid-season. Am I tripping? Let me know in the comments. But I feel like we already know that this season is going to pretty much be trash because they didn't even try when it came to the recruitment of the men. And I feel like we've already noticed that. There's like 2 or 3 decent dudes here and they can't all date the same woman. So it's really sad to see that because I know there are quality Black men in Texas. And there's no way they took the effort in past maybe just tapping somebody's profile on Instagram to find out who was going to be on this show. So if y'all want us to watch, give us better eye candy, give us better quality. Ladies, y'all let me know down in the comments. Are y'all even feeling this pack of men? Because mostly what I've been seeing online is that it's a not for us. So we're not focused so much on those who are not connecting and more focused on those who would like to connect more. And that includes our girl, Rashina and Justin. Justin, why does Justin remind me of Tyler Lepley, you know, from Harlem and also from P-Valley? He's like a skinnier version of him to me, but he still kind of looks like him in some ways. And sort of his mannerisms and how he acts just really gives me that vibe. It gives mature, gives attractive, but real chill. He's also kind of funny and fun, which I think is a really nice to have as balance to his attractiveness. So it is what it is. But him and Rashina really hit it off when they were at the dog park a couple of episodes ago. And so now they're having this follow-up date to see what's going on because, the sparks were a little light but they were there. And so now we're trying to see if there's going to be an ignited fire. So they decide to go salsa dancing. And per usual, he's a good sport. She hasn't been. This is their first time. And our girl Rashina says she's all about serving a look, honey, and she is here fully in her cheetah print to do so. She's looking fantastic. I don't really love the blonde wig, but I just have a thing with like blonde wigs and hair. I'm not a fan. I feel like they look too costumey a lot. I don't always love it, but I know she's a hairdresser. The wig is like great, but it's just I don't know, something about it just gives bobblehead energy. And that straight one, and this might be the same wig that she just flat iron straight, I wasn't feeling as well in the thing. But Rashina's beautiful. They have a great time. They have a fun time. They don't really know what they're doing completely. But sometimes the joy in a good date is just you having fun and figuring things out together. I know, like, dates that I've been on with the boo, even, before him and everything like that. It just was fun to like go on dates where you go to like, a murder mystery thing, or you go to like, anything puzzle solving situation, something where you have to kind of figure things out. You really get to know a person's personality and what they do under levels of stress, and sometimes differences when you're able to like solve puzzles together or do like mystery situations. There's so many dope mystery date nights, either if you're in a relationship or you're with friends, or if you're just meeting somebody for the first time and y'all getting to know each other. That really could be an alternative to just movies and dinner. Anyway, they have a good time. They get to know each other and they have more of a connection. Justin is really happy to have more time with Rashina because he also feels a spark with her and he genuinely enjoys her company. And by the end of this date, we realize that their connection is growing stronger. And I ain't mad at that. So finally, we move on to another connection, and I would say really lack of connection. And let's be clear, I don't really care for Alexis, although I think she makes good television because you always need a villain. And I feel like she's decided to put herself in that role without question for no reason at all, mainly because she's a pick-me, and she also is not safe around other women in terms of keeping what happens in the ladies lounge. In the ladies lounge, she can't wait to go tell a man, honey. And for some reason, that man seems to be Will 1.0. And I use the term man lightly because he very much gives, I just graduated from grad school, little cousin, annoying cousin vibes. Anyway, she meets up with Chad. And look, whether or not I like a person on the show or personality on the show, we don't know these people in real life. So don't nobody be in my comments, calm down. But I feel like with Chaz, I did not see a connection here. And I just feel like it was straining to have that. I do like how Chaz came to stand on business to ask her what really happened with Koshia. Because you can tell that was his homegirl. He just wasn't feeling the fact that they tried to use that moment against her. And you won't notice in that moment, Alexis tells on herself again that she kind of clearly is gunning for other people on the episodes. And you could kind of tell, like, it's like, girl, why are you here? Like, you're not a safe person. These women aren't safe to have a conversation in front of you in the ladies' lounge. So it's going to end up back with the men. And like, what points is this scoring for you? Points with Will. Like, want better for yourself. Anyway, they sit down and try to have a connection. They have things in common, but it very much gives those meetup dates that people used to have back in the day. On like those love match like date nights where they would go and meet somebody, a stranger, and talk for 5 minutes, and they're like, oh, we have a lot in common. That's what it gave. Nothing about this gave strong energy. It's nothing like what he has with Vanessa or many of the other women. It very much gave that Alexis is supposed to be everybody's type, and that feels inauthentic. And I just feel like Chaz is naturally charming and mostly could connect with anybody, and that's what I'm getting from them. Nothing feels like there was anything that left off the page in terms of energy. It more so was just like, I'm trying to hedge all my bets because what if I'm not being chosen by everyone? But nothing about this gave love connection. Now, even though Koshia going, honey, when I tell you Krishan Senior, aka Patrice, is a menace, I love to see it. So Patrice decides that she's going to invite Will, Vanessa, and Zoe, aka Alonzo, aka Urkel with the locks. Because I know I was the only person getting those vibes on his face. He's giving Jaleel White with a receding headline. And they are meeting up at I want to say this is a Korean barbecue spot to talk and really fight over Krishan. So essentially, she would like to be in a back and forth between Zoe and Will because they're two of her stronger connections. And she really just inviting Vanessa as a wingman or a hanger-oner. I wasn't really feeling this. And Vanessa also points out that at this point, she's had more of a connection with Patrice than the other people involved, which, let's talk about it. So during the date, they start, conversing, having a good conversation. Although Will points out that he is kind of excited and a little interested to see what's going to happen with Vanessa, because when they met up the other two times, because they've been in this group of the three of them meeting up with Patrice multiple times, Vanessa has kind of been a great connection to talk with when they're present with each other, but she hasn't really been great on the follow-up. He even indicates that he tried to contact her after their last meetup because he really wanted to continue the conversation with her, and he hasn't heard back. So he's trying to get down to the bottom of that today, and he also wants to see where the connection with Patrice is going to go. So while they're eating, because they give out the little preliminary salad, honey with the ginger, you know how it goes. Will kind of is definitely getting like some one-ups on Urkel with the locks. So he basically starts talking more. He's more communicative. He's got little funny stories. And Zoe is just being very quiet. Zoe loves to be very, very vocal. At least he was with Roshia. And he really is not saying anything. He's not adding in any interesting conversation. He's struggling to eat properly. I told y'all early, I think it's episode 1, him and Patrice really give me mother-son vibes. So I don't really know how the situation is going to work out. It very much gives not grown man energy. He the same boss with Will 1.0 when it comes to maturity level to me, and his communication level is very much like that. But he wants to be the outside of the box guy, so he can't eat within the box that is sitting in front of him with the chopsticks, and he struggles to do that. And Will's like, "Hey, you need some help with your food." Gerber baby. So essentially, they have more conversation. Will gets more comfortable, and he ends up asking, questions about, he's trying to start side conversation with Vanessa, but she doesn't seem to be clicking on as easily because, again, he's like, hey, she's a little dry sometimes. And she was giving him very dry energy. She even admits that they connect, but sometimes she's just not giving a pulse. And I like Vanessa, but I feel like she's putting all her eggs in one basket with Chaz alone. I do think she needs to open up and kind of connect with more men, especially the men who are interested and acting a bit more mature. Will 2.0, he's in the middle for me, but he's also more on the side of Chaz and Justin, who I feel like is a little bit more mature and ready for the process than some of the other people. So they have light conversation. Krishan Sr. is not getting what she wants in terms of the fight. And they move on to the non-negotiables. She asked that question. So Will says his non-negotiable is people who don't really understand his connection with his son. He goes back into the whole adoption story, his son being his first true blood and all that kind of stuff, honey. It was giving Game of Thrones. And Vanessa seems to be interested in that because she has children. He also says his other non-negotiable is that he's really into fitness and he wants somebody that works out. So Patrice and Vanessa, who are both in great shape, talk about, Patrice says like, hey, I like working out too, but somebody has to literally drag me to the gym because I don't always enjoy it. And he said, well, that's part of a relationship. I don't expect everybody to be like totally into it or whatever. But Vanessa, on the other hand, says that yes, she's into fitness as well, but because she has 2 kids, she doesn't know how that would fit well within her plan. But I'm like, girl, how do you stay in shape now? You're a flight attendant. I'm assuming, and she looks great, so I don't understand how that didn't connect. Again, the vibes here are very much giving homie, lover, friend. And I just don't know where everybody's connection is. Krishan 2.0 is not getting the fight that she wanted between these 2 men, which was already a little corny to begin with. Zoe tries to speak up more because Will points out during the dinner that Vanessa, that he tried to, text Vanessa. He really enjoys her vibe, but he couldn't get in touch with her. Vanessa says, show me your phone. She looks at the phone number. She realizes that he has an extra 4 where there shouldn't be one. And that's why they haven't been sending the messages. Will never checked that out before he kept trying to send messages to her and just assumed that she wasn't replying. It was an easy miscommunication, but she also wonders like, hey, was a guy saving us from this tragic ending that could be a possible relationship? Child, I don't know. All I got to say is it was just hilarious to see Zoe struggle. So, Ready Love continuing to play in our faces with these people that we know don't have a connection. Why they keep connecting us with Mika and Dominique, I do not know. It is clear this man says he wants at least 85 kids, and she says she don't want no more. Now she's kind of coming around more to the idea that she's not met a man who would make her want to have more. Look, at the end of the day, I don't know what they're trying to get out of the situation, but the date was very cute. It was very grown. Dominique's one of my favorites in the pile of the decent men on the show. And, they have a really good conversation about who he is and what he's looking for in a woman. He talks about, they talk about the food. They have a good conversation about what she's looking for. And ultimately, the barrier that he has with Mika, because he enjoys a lot of parts of who she is the fact that she doesn't want any more children. Of course, we know Dominique doesn't have any, and he wants to have a tribe, honey. And it's clear that he's very confident in who he is as a man, but I have to say, you cannot bully anybody into having a kid. And although I don't think he was doing that, I think he feels like he's pushing down guards to that. And you have to be really careful, because although I think Mika, again, my main thing that I said, even in the last episode, was that I don't think that she's opposed to having more children, but I do think that she had, just based on, Bath, she had her first child very young. So I think her issue is like, I got one kid that's very young. I got a 6-year-old, and that kid is like at the halfway point of me now getting past like the younger ages and stages. I don't think she wants to do parenting for a third time with the perhaps of being a single mom again. And so I think her main thing is, if I'm going to meet somebody and have a child, it's going to be with my husband. But even then, I don't think she wants to add too many more to the pile, honey. I think she's willing to have maybe an additional kid, maybe two, but not 17. And he clearly wants more than a Brady Bunch. He's made that very clear to all of the women, that he's interested in having a large family. And I do not think that she's going to be interested in that, because I think a lot of her younger years were spent being a mom full time. And I think at best she would want to have a partner that she can share the parenthood with, but also be able to go do some things, because she hasn't lived life that much. But they continue to play in our faces with them as a couple. He thinks that she's starting to wear down in that, and it could be a good thing. But I ultimately feel like if they end up in a situation, there's going to be resentment that follows if they were to go further. Whether or not they are a nice, nice looking couple and could be a decent match. Fast forward, we go to a date with Maya and Justin. They haven't met up as much. I'm not sure if they met up at all, but they decided to go out because, Justin's a new guy in the block. Him and Maya's date was just, they talked about a lot of stuff. It's clear that Maya hasn't had as many connections yet. He asked her who her strongest connection is. It is Will, because they identified the fact that both of them don't have kids. Now, this is the part that threw me off with Justin. Throughout the entire time that he's been on this show, which has only been a couple episodes, because remember, he came in as a relief for the guy who didn't even want to get out his car by the Dollar Tree table. Justin has been saying that he's open to, whether or not he has children at all, or whether or not he, never has kids. He's okay either way. But when Maya mentions that she wants children and that she's connected with Will, who has 3 kids, he goes, 3 kids. He's like, he wants kids. And he makes it seem like the kids for him are not a non-negotiable. And I thought that was really weird, because he's been telling the other women something else. But either way, their date was just okay. There is a bit of a connection, mostly based on the fact that they're both young and don't have children. But I don't know that I see any real sparks. Now, y'all, this date with Rashina and Will 1.0 with shoulders made no sense at all. All the vibes of this date gave me mom who is here scolding her 2 sons. And not that Rashina feels, it looks older than them or is vastly older than them. Her maturity level is. And it just very much gave mama meeting with her 2 sons to wonder why the hell they making her look crazy in these streets. So they meet up to do like some body butter workshop at like a holistic place. And she's connecting with Will and Jonathan, because those are the 2 people that she hasn't really had as much time with. And there's a reason why. Sometimes you got to not question God's path in our life. And I feel like her steps were ordered away from them and she put them back in play. And I do not understand. Maybe she's trying to make sure she stay on the show longer, but there was no connection here. Jonathan already walks in with a sense of like, why am I here? Because it's clear that they don't have a connection. And Rashina is way too mature for him. Will 1.0 is already always up for the shenanigans. And he ends up, unfortunately, being the mature one of the 2 until the end, because then he always shows himself. So they have a meetup. They're doing body butters. Rashina's saying that she hasn't connected with both of them. They have a little bit of conversation and they're, making their concoctions. Now, why the lady that owned the shop decided that she's going to do a sound bath right next to Jonathan's ear? That part was hilarious. Man, what are you doing? Normally sound baths are done, further away from the parties. You can hear it. There's sort of a ethereal feeling to the room. She literally was doing that in front of it, because at the end of the sound bath, they're going to clink that glass and it's going to ultimately give a gong sound. And I was just like, why they subject that man to that? So he said, look, I'm trying to enjoy the situation. It's supposed to be peaceful, but between the sounds that said right by my ear, I didn't know what was going on. And all of this just to mix some lotion together. So they start having conversation, but it's dry as hell. They're done with their body butters. Rashina tries to get deep about their non-negotiables. She asks Will what his is. Will says is you got to love God. Because circus clowns love the Jesus too. And Rashida says, oh, for sure. You know what I'm saying? She said her non-negotiables are like, lack of commitment, cheating, anything like that. She's just not feeling. While she's laying down what should be non-negotiables for a lot of us, Jonathan is getting increasingly more uncomfortable because I feel like those things are absolutely his vibe. Infidelity, not really being honest and truthful, all of those things. And he's getting increasingly uncomfortable. And then she gets to him and asks him his, and he doesn't have an answer. He stalls and he's like, And the green screen, he says, oh, yeah, well, my non-negotiables, this is really a private situation. Sir, why are you on the show? They're here to ask questions to get to know you better. I get not asking deep or dumb questions, but dumb questions, dumb, deep questions don't work neither. But I just feel like, why are you on the show if you don't want to share? Who are you running away from? Are you on anybody's most wanted list? Do you owe a school money? Like, what's going on? I feel like Jonathan hasn't paid some bill somewhere, and that's really where it lies. Y'all let me know in the comments. But either way, he doesn't really give an answer. When the date ends and they're done with their body butters, he breaks out because there's nothing there. Rashina has a one-on-one with Will that leads to almost nothing. They start asking each other's questions back and forth. He grills her more so about the process, not really grilling her. He just asks her basic questions, the type of questions that all the ladies are asking. But the question I thought was weird and didn't make any sense was who her least connection was. And she says, LaRon, why are you filing that information away, sir? For what reason? That's none of your business. Your connection with me and you is what you need to be thinking about. And let's be honest, there wasn't anything between mother and her son. Woohoo! When I tell you the ladies' lounge was the live for moment of this episode, honey, because it's mostly been floating along kind of, but this is where I feel like we needed to key in. And when I tell you I was here for the ladies getting in Alexis's ass, we're exhausted. Okay, ma'am, you are not a safe space. We have talked about that again. You really are the tattletale in high school. And as the women are walking into the ladies' lounge, and let me just say this again, I have constantly given this compliment throughout the entire season. And y'all not going to stop hearing it from me. The ladies in Fort Worth just really just reinvigorated the entire vibe of cute, sexy, fine, fly that we need to see on this show more. Nobody's dressed like a grandma. Everybody's dressed, I feel like, age appropriate, vibes appropriate. It's giving colorful, vibrant Black beauty. And I love to see it. And that's everybody included. Even if I didn't always like every outfit, I have to say that they have constantly been serving it, every single person, regardless of personality. That being said, and feeling like serving it, Tommy wants to know more about what the lady has going on this week because he had them talk about non-negotiables. Now when they walk into this lounge, everybody seems cool, calm, and collected, but here come Alexis with the I don't know how I'm gonna feel in the lounge because she's playing the victim card, honey. Cue music. And so she's like, I don't know how I feel in the lounge. I just feel like the ladies are gonna just give this mean girl high school energy. Girl, you really are Regina George on the inside and pretending like you're not. I don't know why. I just don't want to have any drama, but I'm gonna bring it if they make me bring it. Then rock it. So they all sit down and have conversation. Of course, Tommy wants to know how everybody went with the non-negotiables this week and who are their favorite people that they've liked so far. A lot of the ladies give their, individual answers. Again, Mr. Justin is very popular in the lounge and Yashina's feeling him as well as Maya. They both like his attitude and his vibe and his energy, as do we. Mika said that she likes Dominique, but she's not really sure about where it's going to lead because, again, he really wants kids and she's not sure if he's just putting on, especially because she feels like he only contacts her right before the lounges. And Tommy says, yes, it could be a red flag because is he just lobbying for support or is he genuinely feeling you? Vanessa and Patrice talk about their double date with Zoe and Will. And Patrice says that Will really stepped up in a way for her because she's not completely sure if Zoe is just more fun and games and Will is just a little bit more serious. Then Tommy kind of gets down to what the ladies aren't feeling about their dates. A lot of the ladies pretty much speak up on the fact that they're not really feeling Will 1.0, girl, he's not serious. And he brings nothing serious to the table and they're not digging his vibes. Mika talks about how he was very thirsty in the early episodes. And we do remember that. If not, I'll post that video in the comment. But he was thirsty in the beginning episodes, just trying to collect everybody's number and really didn't seem like he was about anything serious. They talk about Jonathan and the fact that Jonathan's just too closed off completely. he just is very secretive. And it's like, sir, what are you hiding from the situation? You're here about being open and about love, but you don't want to share anything about your past relationships, your current relationships, your future feelings. Like, what is the situation? Why are you here? It's not to showcase some shoulders or your foot fetish. The ladies also just said that they're not necessarily fully connected to, I believe LaRon was the last person mentioned, but Patrice wants to bring it back to another issue she got going on, which is her issue with not being connected to Will. She brings up the fact that one of the reasons that she was turned off was because he approached her about something that happened in the ladies' lounge. And that she's finding that things that they're saying in the ladies' lounge are getting back to Will. And honey, when I tell you, Krishan had no problem turning to the left and saying, I know it's you. She basically said that she knows that it is in fact Alexis that is taking things back to him. And for some reason you want to save him. And she's letting her know, like, look, girl, don't throw us under the bus to try to save your man. And Alexis is like, oh, Will came to his own deductive reasoning, which he did run around trying to find out who it was. She didn't pinpoint, but if y'all remember when they first met up, Will kind of thanked her for kind of giving him the low on the situation. So you know if they talk between this episode, he came in on 10 already. How you come prepared to be mad past the fact of elimination when you were really probably talked to this girl beforehand and she was telling you their business. Mika points out that yes, things that we're saying are getting back to them. And remember, her whole beef with Roshia last week was the fact that Roshia was saying that she has heard things in the ladies' lounge from some of the men because they're coming out of Alexis's mouth. That was their reason for being in their entire beef. Like I said, Alexis is not a safe space. She's a tattletale. It's really uncomfortable. And for somebody who doesn't like high school games, she's giving high school behavior. And now she's trying to play victim like she isn't that person. So they kind of get in the back and forth. Tommy does nothing always to quell the situation except to say he understands both sides. Sir, goodbye. And they end the conversation. But Tommy does throw a curveball. He lets them know that they will not be eliminating just one man tonight. It will be two. And you know the top two on my list are Zoe and Will 1.0. But we'll see what happens as long as Will goes home. But now that we moved on from the tenseness of the ladies' lounge, honey, because it was at a fevered pitch of somebody possibly getting their ass whipped, but it never went there. You know, she at home, so it's not exactly where it needs to be. But I think they're starting to recognize the messiness by the name of Alexis. And so the ladies have heard Tommy on they have to send two men home. And so three guys are up for elimination dates. Will 1.0, Will 2.0, and Shoulders, aka Eddie Kane. So they all go on individual dates with individual women. Will 1.0 meets up with Vanessa. Now you should have known from that situation that he was going to be one of them to go home, and we are so happy to hear it. Will 2.0 meets up with Maya, who's actually been a connection for him. And Jonathan meets up with Alexis to be the eliminator. I'm not sure why they didn't pick somebody else, but it's all good. Anyway, we're going to go through it like we're going to go through it. So Will 1.0 meets with Vanessa. Vanessa basically tells him that the ladies aren't feeling a sense of maturity. They also feel like, you talk too much about what's going on. And they feel like there's sort of an alliance that he has with Alexis that sort of leaves them wondering, like, what's your real purpose here? And you are pretty much a chatty patty and they're not feeling that. And so, Will says he can't be anybody but himself. She says, you're starting to feel like you don't feel as good about being on the date, basically saying that he's starting to feel like he's a little bit nervous. He says he's not nervous, but he absolutely is. Because I think he thought that his power play last week against Roshia and essentially him having this connection with Alexis where she blabs all their business to him was going to be the thing that was going to save him. And it ultimately is the thing that looks like it's going to send him home. And it does, because he's gone. He said that he doesn't regret any of the situation. He got to have, experience he would never have. Sir, you really just need to learn from this experience. I'm not going to totally put Will down at the very end of this because he's already going home. I want to kick him when he's down, but he's already short enough. I feel like at best, I'm hoping he's learning from the situation because like I told y'all from the beginning, Will gave just out of college vibes and he's in his early 30s. I feel like he's a lot of maturity to do, a lot of growing up to do. I'm hoping that him being around some of the more mature men here, the Chaz, Will 2.0, I think is very mature. The Dominique's, Justin, I feel like I hope he gets some vibe from them about how to sort of engage with women, and the lack of maturity he had on the very first mixer to me just shows he doesn't know how to necessarily talk to them. And I think the only reason he vibed with Alexis because she's also young-minded and they're around the same age being young-minded together. And I think if he's looking for somebody with some substance and ultimately something serious and not just a pick me, he is going to have to learn how to advance his game by just becoming a bit more mature and leaving a little bit of the unnecessariness away. We get to Will 2.0, and honestly, I never thought that he was going to go home anyway. He meets up with Maya. She actually is a strong connection for him. I didn't think anybody was going to vote him out because I think he connects with at least one or two of the women there. I think he's a big one for Patrice and for Maya. So I knew he was thrown in here as just, I wouldn't say eye candy, although he's not bad to look at. But I think he was just thrown in here, obviously, to just create a diversion. We already knew it was going to be Eddie Kane Jr., so let's just move on. Will 2.0 is safe. We knew he would be. Eddie Kane sits down with Alexis, aka the snake, because we're gonna talk about that trailer for the upcoming episode. And they end up having a conversation about how Jonathan is too guarded, and ultimately the women feel like they don't get to know him. He wants them to be open to the process, but he's not open to any of his business, honey. He won't even tell you whether or not he used just for me. It's very much giving you want all of this vulnerability, but you're not vulnerable. You want this closeness, but you're not close. I don't think anybody had an issue with him and Alexis because she sort of, talked that down as far as letting them know like he apologized. It wasn't a big deal. I think it's just the fact that he's just not an open book, but you want to be in this process and you want to be people to open to love. So she ultimately tells him that he's not, the one for her. But in true pick me fashion, Alexis makes it her point to cry. Now, when Vanessa told Will he was not ready to love, she apologized to him because she said, it's so uncomfortable saying that to anybody. And so I understand telling a person they're not ready to love can feel weird. And that felt authentic. But Alexis, of course, cries and lets him know, because she just had to let him know, this wasn't something for her. This was a hard deliberation, but she wasn't one of the ones that wanted him to go home. Why do you need to constantly throw other people under the bus in the room just to let him know that it wasn't one of my votes? Like, girl, if y'all stuck together with the vote, you'll stuck together with the vote. You don't need to let him know that you were one of the people that was fighting for him. Just let him know that, he's not ready to love. Hopefully he matures from the situation. And he takes it like a grown man and says, yes, I need to mature. I need to grow. I have some things that I have to work out for myself and I will find love. But she has to let him know that, she wasn't down with the vote. And I noticed that we're not the only ones that felt that way. Because lo and behold, that next episode, honey, when they get to the part where LaRon says they got rid of World 1.0 and now they got to get rid of the other part of the snake, I told y'all several people did not trust them. Yes, LaRon is trying to seek some type of revenge for his boo, Roshia. But the rest of that group also does not trust that lady. Even outside of them, she has been yapping them gums, and it's come time to pay on next episode. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about the episode in the comments. I love y'all. We will connect again this week on multiple other shows and Ready to Love. Like this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.